curiosity. That's one of my favorite things. I think it's like there's two, like, I'd say personalities. I like passion and curiosity. I think are the biggest components to probably anybody in business, right? If you are asking those questions, you go investigate them, it's going to help you do whatever you need to. And we were just talking to Paul Chen. Actually, John and I work with Paul Chen. He was a product manager at Western Digital. He now is at Mattel and the engineering. He leads an engineering team. And we talked about how often we fall into that trap of thinking or assuming that we're the user, right? And it was like, John and I did this. John, we build products for beta tests. We were beta test managers. We did that stuff, and we just got into this. It's a dark place when you start saying, "Oh, I know, I'm the user," right? And that false confidence, or even that confidence, can be a little fragile, right? Like if you get to a point where you're being kept up at night, it's like, is this really right? Is this really the right product? Will I have product market fit? And then you're not sleeping so easy anymore. Having some connection to check is big. We actually just launched our PLG version, our product led growth version of our platform, and it was a big change for us. John, tell us about some of your sleepless nights and how we got beta to give you a little more ease going out the door with it.
Yeah, whenever we first were doing it, obviously we thought we had a good idea, and we, like Chris said, we were talking to the people internally, but until we started actually talking to people externally who were doing this themselves, other product managers, we got our beta version out, started getting feedback from them. I tell you what, that's whenever it gave us two things really. One, it gave us confidence, like you said, Ryan. We knew that our decisions were getting more accurate from the feedback coming in. But also it gave the whole team energy because we were actually talking to people who were doing this every single day. They were excited about what they were seeing, or they were frustrated by what they were seeing. It was no more like the day-to-day drudge of getting the product out. It was close to the end, but that feedback really was what drove the teams across the finish line. It gave them more energy than they needed. I mean, we ended up with the dev team wanting to make more changes than we wanted to make because they were excited to get the product in a better state because they were seeing the feedback from the product managers out there. And so that was really cool.
And John, what you're talking about is a primary philosophy of the 280 group. By learning instead of the drudge, I think you called it, you just immediately shifted from outputs to outcomes. Like hands down, like you are now outcome focused, and it's exciting. Like I've seen teams that same thing happen, and that energy, like that is why I am enthusiastic about product management. Like that energy, it's so cool to see teams click and be fed by learning, and that learning translates to better teams, better products, better and happier customers in the end.
Yeah,
you underestimate the morale. You can't underestimate the impact in morale on the product team by doing that. You know, it made me think of, we had a big beta program a couple of jobs ago, and you know, we were talking about product readiness, and you know, we identified we needed to do a demo site, we needed to do a certain type of reporting. The beta allowed us to identify all these extras we just didn't know we needed to do until we got it in the hands of an actual user. And the beauty was we got in front of our most skeptical group, and they were trying to pepper us, and they're like, take care of that, got that. Oh, like it got to a point where I could go into a conversation with that client and I knew every single question they were going to ask me, and I had an answer for it. Like there is nothing that just drives more passion and more excitement, knowing that you can go into a conversation like that, knowing that you know what's going to be asked of you and you have an answer for it because you did that deliberate beta testing from your product's perspective.
You know, Joe, and you and Ryan are both hitting on this here. One thing that product managers, at least I've seen, really have to have is that confidence. They have to have the rapport within the company. A couple of bad decisions can really set you back.
Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. We always say, and as you guys know, any product manager, they're responsible for everything but have authority over no one, right? And any authority they have is earned. And that's it takes work. You gotta be careful about how you go about earning that trust and manage your stakeholders effectively. So whether you have people reporting to you or not, you're a business leader, product managers. And recognizing that is, I think, a great first step in saying, oh, I'm in fact a leader. I need to have some influence and earn my trust.
Yeah, I actually saw that, and I don't know if you guys subscribe to the product management subreddit, but they were talking about this. Someone said they got this harsh feedback, this negative. They thought it was negative feedback. It was a really cool conversation. And the person, their manager was telling them that they needed to communicate more. They needed to build better connections with their teams. And the person's like, oh, this is so negative. This is so rough. And everyone's like, this is a perfect. Yeah, do those things. Be great. Build those connections. Without those connections, you don't do much of anything as a product person. You're there to help make the decisions. You might have to pick up, get dirty a little bit, but you have a team that's building your product. You have a team that's mostly internally testing your product. If you're doing beta testing, you have customers testing your product or users testing your product. You're very reliant. So those connections are big. And that's it's important.
Well, you got to build that vulnerability. That was probably the lesson I learned early on as a product leader, is you don't know everything. A lot of companies think the product manager has to be like the perfect product manager, has all this experience in their industry. Maybe, right? But I'd rather hire on attitude, communication skills, vulnerability, like trust, those softer skills. I can teach you the rest. That's easy to teach. I can't teach you to be a good communicator, to, be someone that you can be trusted within the organization. And I think you've got to, for me, being vulnerable was really hard. But once I started doing that, I was like, wait a minute, I have a team that can help me, right? There are areas where I'm going to have to come in and roll up my sleeves, but that beta program, maybe I can delegate that to a project manager, or maybe my business analyst or PO can manage that. I don't have to worry about it. Like, just having that open dialogue and that trust and that connection with people, they have just as much stake in being successful as you do in many cases.